Welcome, everybody. Once again, Thursday night here on A2DRadio.com, niche night. You have Lazy Booking coming at you, and we're very, very excited today with our special guest joining us for the second week. We're going to get into that in 1 second, but first of all, got to give a shout out to our sponsors. First of all, Dr. Paul Vidal at Specialized Physical Therapy. You can find him in Burlington, Cherry Hill, and Princeton, New Jersey. Find him on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. No appointment necessary. Hit up the doc. Check them out. Get all your specialized physical therapy needs taken care of. We're also brought to you by Ambuck Services. You need gutter guards, gutter cleaning, tree trimming, deck installation, restoration, any kind of outside work. Hit up Michael Ambrose. Let him know that A2D sent you, and you will get 20% off. That is AMBUCK services.com, Ambuck Services. And we're also, hey guys, get on Philly Drinkers. Get your merch. Get your A2D merch. There's a lot of things that have been dropping out there, 42, 43 items, something like that. Show shirts. I got my Lazy Booking shirt on the way. Lazy Booking, Birds of a Feather, The Fix, AM and the PM, Agree to Disagree, Sports Sounds, whatever your show is, get on there, support them. And also a lot of really cool shirt designs from A2D Radio and from Philly Drinkers. Check them out, phillydrinkers.com. Our topic of conversation brought to you by Play QB54. It is the best tailgating game out there, and you can check them out at playqb54.com. Use the promo code A2D, and you get 10% off on your purchase there. Check them out. But listen, part 2 of what will be part 3 next week. We're very excited once again on the phone with us to have back the manager of champions, professional wrestling legend, ECW legend, which is going to be the concept of our show today. I know it was a very exciting show. We have Bill Alfonso, the Fonzie, with us. How are you, Bill?
Hey, I'm great, Michael. Thanks for having me on Lazy Bookings again. Damn, last week, this week, and next week. That's great. I love it.
I know. I mean,
especially talking to you. I know you guys are ECW country. You're right there in Jersey, right across the bridge from Philly, Cherry Hill, all the places. I love all the places. I spent 5 years there every weekend. Been really good to me, and it's great to be back on your show, Daddy.
Hey, listen, it's great to have you back on, Bill. I mean, last week, a lot of great feedback when we talked about your earlier years in professional wrestling, when we talked about WCW, well, really just getting in the Texas territory, working with Dusty, your WCW days, and we rounded out when you left WWE. And it was really awesome. It was a great conversation. If you missed it, you can go back. You can check it out on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and also all the podcast platforms, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google, Spreaker, Spotify, SoundCloud. It's available all over the place. Go back and check it out. And we're going to have another great conversation with Bill. Bill, today is ECW, brother. We're really, this is the one that people wanted to talk about. People wanted to hear from you. We left off last week when you left WWE. You told us a great story about the Hulkster too on the way out. But first and foremost, Bill, can we talk about, how you ended up at ECW, how that initial offer came and your, your introduction there.
Because everybody, that's an easy one, Michael. Lazy Bookings. How I got to ECW was through Paul Heyman, who I had worked with in the early 80s in Championship Wrestling from Florida. I was instrumental in helping him get a gig in Florida, managing Tombstone, a wrestler. And so I just left WWF. And Paul Heyman, he was already a big superstar. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And he called me. He knew I had left WWF, and I was still on doing Monday Night Raws, because we would do one live show and take 2 shows for the next 2 weeks. So we would do Monday Night Live, Tuesday night for the next Monday Night Raw, then Wednesday night for the following Monday Night Raw. But anyway, Paul knew I had left, and I was in Florida at my home. So I get a phone call. It's Paul Heyman. Hey, Fonzie, how you doing? I haven't talked to him for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
He says, listen, you just left WWF. I got this company called ECW. I said, what the fuck's an ECW? Because I've never worked any indie shows. I worked all these mainstream companies, WCW, Ted Turner, Vince, Florida Wrestling, Japan. I've never worked really. He says, well, this is his company. We're getting started. And I got a perfect little deal for you for 4 weeks. You being the referee and, just left WWF. You're still on TV there, so we can use that as a plus to bring you in. So they brought me in for 4 weeks. Initially, they brought me for 4 weeks to be anti-ECW. ECW is hardcore, underground, violent, blood, sex, rock and roll, black market, a new vision. And there was a big market for that. And who knew?
Yeah.
So Paul thought it'd be a great idea for me, who just came from WWF, a conservative. Vince McMahon wants the doctor. Vince wants the doctor's wife and the doctor's 2 kids at ringside. Family entertainment. That's where I just came from. So Paul Heyman's idea was to bring me in and be anti-ECW. And oh, brother, did it work.
Yeah.
Be anti-ECW and spoil their party, because these people were hardcore wrestling fans. They wanted to see blood and guts and tables and all that kind of stuff. And I said, no, none of that. I would stop the match. So I got a lot of heat. I initially said, okay. So I said, okay, Paul, I'll come in for 4 weeks. And then 911 was going to choke slam me at the end of the 4 weeks, and I was going to be on my way.
Right.
But the gimmick started getting over, and it got over pretty damn good.
Yeah.
When I first walked in ECW into the dressing room, I didn't know any of the guys. I walked in, I got a beautiful suit on. I just came from big money, making big money.
Mm-hmm.
Vince wants you to dress nice at WrestleMania. You got to wear, you got to look like $1 million. So I came in the dressing room into Philly at the ECW arena with a suit on, Louis Vuitton luggage, a Submariner Rolex watch. I walk in, I look around the dressing room. There's Sandman, Tommy Dreamer, Tazz, Mikey Whipwreck. All these guys, I didn't know who the hell they were, but it felt pretty cool. So as time went by, everybody was cool as hell. They treated me like a superstar. Thanks to all my superstar ECW friends and wrestler buddies. So the gimmick got over, and then they just kept prolonging it, and they got more heat, and then the situation came up where they were going to put me with Tazz, and Tazz was a great performer, great talent, but he had like 2 or 3 different gimmicks, and they really never got over. He was Tasmania, he was Monkey Boy, he was this, he was that. But when he became Tazz, he got over because he was playing himself really. Tazz was really Tazz. He amplified it a little bit for the excitement and for TV. And they stuck me and him together, and we had a great run. I mean, we did fantastic. The people bought it. They loved us. We were hardcore. Tazz got hot as hell, got me over. And that's how I got to ECW. Then, we'll talk more about Van Dam and Sabu as the night goes on.
Yeah. And really that's the kickoff of the Manager of Champions. And, obviously you found yourself, tied to, and you were spot on with Tazz. Tazz is a guy who not a lot of people knew about, and probably an undersized is one of the reasons why, but really made a name for himself. And I think when that character transitioned from the Tasmaniac, you enhanced a lot of that. So was there any inspiration, Bill, behind the heel persona that you had, or is that just you amped up to 100%?
After a while, I was a character. I wasn't a heel. I wasn't a baby face. I was a character, because the same people who I excited at ringside or at the ECW arena or any arena, in fact, all over the United States and Japan, Paul Heyman took us all over the country, Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, Tokyo, and we went as a package. And I was more of an entertainer or more of a character. So what I'm saying is the same people at the ECW arena who would spit on me and say, would bring a sign, we want Fonzie's blood, or Fonzie take a Valium, or Fonzie must die. They're the same people who bought me a cocktail at the Marriott after the matches.
Yeah.
So I know I was doing a job. So I wasn't really a bad guy. I was just like a character, even though the people wanted to hang me when I was getting police escorts out of the building when I was at anti-ECW referee. then when I became a manager, I became more of a character, and people started liking me. So I was really never a bad guy or a good guy, especially when I got with Van Dam and Sabu. People fucking loved them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They weren't good or bad. And they put me with those guys. And I had a 5-year career there. Paul Heyman paid me handsomely. Thank you, Paul. Treated me well. I was on top, did 22 pay-per-views. It was just wonderful. And it's all about being in the right place at the right time and thank God I had the talent and to uphold my end. And with a lot of help from, Paul Heyman and Tommy Dreamer guided me through some stuff because I didn't do too many promos as a referee for Florida Championship Wrestling. I would do 2 or 3 promos a year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, by disqualification, I'm disqualifying Dusty because Harley raised him over the top rope and so on and so on. So, not much promo work. Same in WCW, 1 or 2 promos in a couple of years. Same in WWF, same in Japan. But once I got the ECW, and they put a mic in my hand and I was managing Tazz, and I had to do a promo. Damn, this is a little more difficult than I thought. But it was a natural transition for me from referee to being manager because I had been around the business so long. I just didn't know how to get it out of my mouth. And Tommy, and I was I was doing a promo about Sandman. Say, okay, next week in Philadelphia, Tazz is going to be Sandman. Cut, take 2, take 3, take 4. And they got tired of me doing second takes and third takes. And Tommy Dreamer and Paul pulled me aside and says, hey, Fonzie, just treat it like a shoot. Treat it like it's real and talk about the event coming up. So I would say, okay, I get it. Hey, Daddy, on July 15th, Daddy, Tazz is going to kick Sandman so bad. I was doing 1 take Fonzie after that. And, it was a natural thing for me, and people enjoyed the promos and all the skits we did and all the fun stuff and all the hardcore stuff. It was crazy that I was affiliated with. So, again, being in the right place at the right time and having a little talent to back it up took me 5-year run in ECW, which is great. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you were there at the heart of it too. I mean, that's really when things launched. I mean, I'm 35. I remember being a kid and waking up at 2 a.m. And if you remember in Philadelphia, it was old channel 48 or something. It would come on at like 2 a.m. And I think I woke up and I discovered that, and you were on. It might've been when you were that heel referee character. It was,
it took a minute for them to get TVs. Michael, you're going to have to speak up a little bit because I'm having a little trouble hearing you.
Sure.
But it took a minute for ECW to get over because we were on late night TV. I was getting fan mail and letters and, social media wasn't so big. It was just starting back then. I was getting a lot of attention from people all over the country saying, hey, I seen you at 2 o'clock in the morning in ECW. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then, we got better TV deals. And we started doing pay-per-views and we were right on the map. So it was great.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you work with Tazz and that's, kind of your first induction into, becoming a manager, and your character continued to evolve. So can you talk about the transition of going from Tazz to Sabu and what that experience was like?
I think it was a great experience because after a while, I think I was in Tazz maybe a year or right at that mark, you know what I mean? Maybe a little bit more, a little less, but right around that time. And Tazz grew into a fantastic character. I mean, he was Tazz. Tazz thought he was Tazz, and he is. That was his character. He didn't need a mouthpiece. He didn't need me no more. So we got the most mileage out of each other, which was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And it just worked out. And it was at our first pay-per-view, Fairly Legal. People have been waiting. We've been dreaming about a big pay-per-view, and it was all set. Nobody called what we were doing. When I switched went with Van Dam and Sabu, it was pretty cool. I really didn't know what I was doing until that night either. You know what I mean? The writers and Paul Heyman and Tommy Dreamer and all the office guys and Todd Gordon, who's a very dear friend of mine. You knew who Todd Gordon is. He's the founder of ECW.
Yep.
He's one of my best friends in the business.
When it was Eastern Championship Wrestling.
All the time.
Yeah, when it was Eastern Championship Wrestling.
It sure was. I talk to him once a week. He's one of my dear friends. And it's, been 30 years or whatever.
Yeah.
So it was just a natural progression, and the people liked it. And really, excuse me, I was a better fit at that time. You know, Tazz, of course, didn't need me, I said. And I was a better fit for Sabu because he wasn't a talker.
Mm-hmm.
I had worked with his uncle, the Sheik. One of my first professional matches I did and got paid for in 1978 was the Sheik and Terry Funk in a chain match in Lubbock, Texas. And I made $90 that night. And then I told that story to Sabu. And Sabu loved me because I worked with his uncle, 30 years prior or whatever. So we were a natural fit. We got along real good. And at that time, I had all the experience of doing promos and stuff. So I was really good when I got to Sabu, doing promos and stuff. And it just worked out. And, I was back in the main events again. So it was pretty cool for me. I enjoyed it. I wanted to stay up on top because that's where the money is. Yeah. That's where the fame is. That's where all the action is, on top. And so I was lucky enough to get their top guy,
Yeah, and I mean, those two had such a hot feud when you switched over from Tazz to Sabu. That was very controversial. And obviously it makes a ton of sense. Tazz was a guy who, he has the gift of gab to this day, whether he's on commentary, he's working with Brian Cage right now as a manager, and obviously he has his podcast. It's a guy who's always been able to do that. So you end up working with Sabu and eventually RVD as well. I have to ask, the whistle, Bill. Everybody knows the whistle. I mean, how?
Yeah, if you don't know my name, you say, "Oh, that's that guy that blows that damn whistle."
Exactly.
That whistle. Oh, can I have your autograph? Boom. Yeah, cool. I didn't like the whistle. Paul Heyman gave it to me. So when the night we were in ECW arena, and I remember pretty cool. And I switched with Tazz. Because Tazz got hurt. He hurt his neck real bad. And
yeah.
The deal was the ECW didn't call him. They didn't help him. He was struggling while he was hurt, and nobody cared about him. The only one cared about him was me, Fonzie. I'd call him every day. I sent him a little money, and we're going to make him a big star. And we did. So, damn, what were we talking about? The whistle. So,
yes.
So that night I said, hey, me and Tazz are together. Joey said, oh my God, Tazz got a new manager or whatever. Bam, we were on. So after the show, Paulie came up to me with this whistle. Paul Heyman come up to me and said, hey, Fonzie, this is your new gimmick. You're going to be with Tazz now, blow the whistle, and here it is. And so he gave me the whistle. This was after the show for the next show. So I looked at the whistle. I wasn't so happy with it. I was a little embarrassed to blow it. I didn't like it. So the next week came, and we came back to Philly to do TV or wherever we do a TV in that area. Could have been right around in Jersey with you guys.
Yep.
And I left the whistle at home intentionally because I didn't like it. I didn't like the gimmick. So I get to the arena, and we're going over the format for the TV, and Paul Heyman says, Fonzie, when you come out with Tazz, you blow the whistle. And this, I said, oh, I don't have, where's your whistle? Fonzie, what do you mean? Do you whistle? I said, oh, I left it at home. So he sent the merchandise people, go out and buy 5 whistles, hurry up. And they came back and brought me the whistle. And then I blew it that night. And then it kind of, I said, okay, that's my gimmick. Okay, I understand. And then I fell in love with it, and I've been blowing it ever since. So still today, this day, when I go to these indie shows or, any convention or any signing or anything to do with wrestling, I always got, my whistle around my neck. And of course, sometimes I blow and sometimes I don't, but I always blow it at the shows.
Yeah.
So people identify me with it. It's pretty cool.
It's amazing.
Cool.
It's amazing the traction that you got out of that. And you hear some of these kind of stories where, there's something that's strapped to somebody that they don't like, whether it's a whistle or, a part of their attire or, just a stupid catchphrase that ends up being, almost defining and enhancing the legend. And for you, it's definitely the whistle. But do you have any, I know you're a story guy. I have to ask, is there any kind of crazy Sabu and or RVD stories that you can share with us?
Yeah. Well, the great match that Sabu and Terry Funk had for the world title, ECW world title, in the Bob Wire match. It's great. And then, of course, I was in it, and it was on pay-per-view or whatever, and they put the strap on Sabu. So that night was a little crazy. It's not a crazy story, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
So we're doing the match, and the guy, the ring guy who was setting up the ring, who was excellent, by the way, went to get the barbed wire for that match that night, and there's a few different grades of barbed wire. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, there's several different grades of barbed wire, and it's like grade 1 is the less dangerous, grade 2 is more dangerous, grade 3, oh man, that keeps the big cattle out and all that. So the guy who was putting up the ring got the wrong grade. Instead of buying the low grade where it doesn't hurt as much, he buys the biggest, bulkiest, badass barbed wire known to mankind, the sharpest, the longest. It was crazy. So they put it up. It was too late to take it down. The match has already started, the pay-per-view, whatever it was. So they end up starting the match and having a match, and the barbed wires, it's dangerous already. And they did a spot where Sabu threw Terry Funk into the turnbuckle. Now there was no ropes. It was just barbed wire acting as the rope. So here comes Sabu charging into the turnbuckle, and he usually does like a flying elbow into the turnbuckle. And Terry Funk moved, and he caught the top part of the barbed wire right under his armpit, and his body weight pulled down to the mat, and it ripped from right under his arm all the way down to his elbow. Like, whatever that is, 12, 14 inches long.
That's a long,
and it was wide. His muscles were hanging out. It was just crazy cut. That was like a go to the hospital right then and there. And Sabu kind of goes into shock. He looks at it. It's a terrible cut. It's an inch wide. This damn meat's hanging out. It's crazy. He's bleeding. And he says, Fonzie, go get me some tape. So I run back to the dressing room. I get some tape. The tape that goes around the wrist, that white tape.
Yeah.
So I throw him the tape. He's come out of shock. He's continuing during the match, and I can't believe it. You know what I mean? They should have stopped the match.
Yeah.
So they continue fighting the match. While Sabu's taping up his arm, he's not doing anything but just putting the tape around is crazy. Terry Funk's giving a reverse neck breaker, and he's still taping up his arm on the steel chair. It looks great. Look at the footage. You'll see what I'm talking about.
I've watched it.
We continue the match.
Yeah.
And so the match is finished, and Sabu wins, and we win the belt and all that, which is great for me and Sabu. And it takes us 20 minutes to cut those guys out of the barbed wire. Look at the footage. We get them in the back, and there's a doctor. There's always got to be a doctor and some EMTs at the matches. It's the law, like, Philadelphia law, the commission. So the doctor says, oh, my God, that's terrible. Let's get you to the hospital. Sabu says, no hospital. Let's do it right here in the restroom. Just get some needle and thread and sew it up. So no anesthesia. So the doctors Sabu stays there, so the doctor starts sewing it up. This is crazy. Starts sewing it up with no anesthesia. He's got a little kit, a sew-up kit in his arm, in his bag. The doctor's really cool. And so he's doing the sew-up, and it hurt so bad about halfway through, Sabu says, Fonzie, go to 7-Eleven and get me some super glue. Now, in 2020, they have medical-grade super glue that they, use for super glue. It's not a super glue, but it's a medical-grade glue that they glue cuts up with.
Yes.
That, you don't need to get stitched up or staples. So Sabu yells out, Fonzie, I can't take this pain. It's too much for me. Go get me some super glue at the 7-Eleven. I said, what? This is go. So I run to the 7-Eleven right across the street. I go grab the super glue, bring it back, and he super glues the rest of the cut with super glue from 7-Eleven. And it worked perfect, but I'm thinking he's going to get toxicity from the glue. It's got some type of petroleum in it or whatever the hell it's got in it. Can't be good for your bloodstream. But he glues the rest up, holds it together, and we go on like nothing happened.
Wow.
That was the craziest thing I've seen in pro wrestling about the way he handled the cut. And it was so, if the cut wasn't too bad, I could say, okay, but 3 or 4 stitches, but we're talking about 100 stitches, not 3 or 4. So that was what was the bizarre part about it.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty cool story about Sabu being a badass and
Yeah.
taking all that pain. He's notorious for not complaining, for getting hurt, and keep going. He's notorious for that. He's one of the toughest guys I know in that fashion. Van Dam's another tough guy, but in different ways. Van Dam is a badass. Like, he'll straighten your ass out if you got a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see that.
He's a really tough guy, and Sabu's a tough guy with dealing with the pain and don't give a shit. He could break his back and keep going. It's crazy.
And it's so funny when you're telling that story, Bill. I can literally envision and remember, like you said, go back and watch it. I'll probably go back and actually watch it again today, but I can remember.
Yeah, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep.
When he moves and Sabu's arm gets cut wide open, you'll see him taping it up with a white tape, get a reverse neck breaker onto a steel chair.
I remember you bringing him that tape.
You'll see us cutting Sabu and Terry Funk out, but what you won't see is stitches in the back and the super glue and all that, because that, they didn't film that, but I'm telling you that because that's what happened.
Yeah, I remember that very, very vividly. And it's crazy, though, to hear the backstory about having the wrong barbed wire and whatnot. There is a comment from Andy regarding One Night Stand 2005, but I'm going to hold that, Bill, until we get through this era of ECW. But can
the producer put a little more volume on your mic?
You know what? That's on me. I pulled the phone away from my face. That's on me. That's
Thank you.
That's my bad.
That's okay. Hey, we're live, brother. Shit happens.
You know it, brother.
We're live, Daddy. We're live on Lazy Bookings, baby.
You got it.
This week and next week. Next week, hey, all you listeners in the Philadelphia ECW area, where I love, and I spent 5 years. I love you guys. I love Tony Luke's. I like Cass and Gino's, but my favorite Philly cheesesteak is on South Street at Jim's. I think it's the best Philly cheesesteak, I think. But hey, if you guys got any questions, I'll be on next week again live. Shoot them to Lazy Boy Bookings, and I'll be more than happy to talk to you. And if any of you listeners see me at any of these shows coming up, which could be in 2 months, I don't know, with the damn virus. Hey, I'm taking a virus test tomorrow at 9:30. I'm scheduled because I worked a wrestling show, first one in 4 months, in Fort Lauderdale, where it's a fucking hotbed of the virus, but it was real sanctioned. I wore gloves and a mask to the ring. It was pretty cool. But I'm taking a virus test tomorrow. I'm fine. I'm healthy. I look great. I feel fine. But so my point is, if you guys ever come to any of the shows, you listeners, say, hey, I listen to you on Lazy Booking, and you promised me a picture, which I will give you an autograph. If you guys want one, I damn sure will. Come up to me and say, hey, I listen to you guys. Hook me up, and I damn sure will, because I always got pictures with me. I sell some at the shows. You know what I mean? We all do. I give a lot away, but anybody comes up and says, tags me with that line, whatever I got, they got.
You heard it. Let Bill know that you watch him on Lazy Booking, and he's going to take care of you. Bill.
Yeah, and if you got any questions, just message them to Michael, Lazy Boy Boss.
Yeah,
Bookings balls, and you guys can get the answer next week. I'm damn sure coming back. I'm having fun with you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Oh man, we love having you on, brother. There is a couple questions actually. So the first question we have here, it's from Jimmy. Jimmy asks, how scary was New Jack?
New Jack was scary in a way, but he was one of the boys. He was the coolest guy, but he would go off once in a while. And New Jack's New Jack. The incidents he's been in fights with people. He's thrown people off the balconies. He's cut people's head from one ear to another. He's done this. He's done that. He shot people. He's a badass. Me and New Jack got along great. I loved New Jack. I wasn't scared of New Jack one bit. He was my boy.
Yeah.
For some reason, Fonzie, come on, brother. So we hung out quite a bit. And the ladies loved New Jack. So I was catching a lot of New Jack slack, you know what I mean? He'd have a couple of vlogs with him. And there was 3 of them. Fonzie, you want one? Hell yeah, New Jack. Go on, Fonzie. He's my boy, New Jack. I love New Jack. He was a scary cat if you didn't know him.
Yeah.
Hell, I wouldn't want to meet him in a dark alley. Any of the wrestlers, Sabu, Van Dam, none of them. But, New Jack just had that little bit of street credibility that was above and beyond some of the others,
Yeah.
He was really badass. He was a bounty hunter and all that shit.
Oh, yeah.
Shootouts and all that kind of shit. But, yeah, he's really a cool cat.
Do you have a favorite memory working with Sabu?
Sabu was
that question's from Jake Friel, by the way.
Yes, my favorite memories with Sabu is him being tough, the tough guy, like we just talked about with the stitches and the super glue and the barbed wire match, and that was some of my memories. Not that particular match, but many incidents where he got hurt and he kept going. So my great memory was him, is how tough he was and how bad he was, and then again how generous Sabu was. Sabu was very generous with me. We got along really well. We were making money, traveling around the world, going to Japan and, all over the country. And he would always set me up and make sure I was taken care of. And, more than one way, we'd go out to eat. He said, hey, Fonzie, order like you're going to pay. Order like you're going to buy your own food and I'll pay. That's something the Sheik used to tell, too. Because if you say, hey, I'm buying, the guys are going to order 3 lobster tails and a big fat steak, right? If you're going to buy your own dinner, you're going to order 1 lobster and 1 steak. But so he's kidding, of course. So that's a little joke. Order like you're buying and I'll pay for it. He used to tell me that all the time. He pay for my dinners all the time. But he didn't have to, but that was very kind of him. He bought me all kinds of shit, bought me outfits, boots, and wrestling stuff, and flew me up to Michigan and come hang out with him and took me out to the ball games and shit. This is a pretty damn cool cat, man.
Yeah, it sounds like it was clear that you guys had a wonderful relationship.
We travel together every day.
Yeah.
Not every day, but 2 days a week for 5 years. So, you know what I mean? And for us to never have any bad words or any mishaps or any arguments or any get mad at each other, we never had that. I don't know why, because, it's hard to travel with 30 guys and 30 different personalities and 30 different superstars and get along with everybody. But, that happens once in a while. But Sabu just had a great relationship. And still to this day, I see him and Jeannie at shows all the time. Before the virus hit, we've been out of work for 3 months or more. So I was seeing Sabu at conventions, at indie shows. I just seen him at Cocoa Beach, and we did well. We did a little skit with this kid called, I'm trying to think of the name. I'll think of it when the show's over. He's a young guy. He does these stunts and stuff. I can't think of his name. But anyway, we have a, like, if I don't see Sabu for a while, for months and months, when we do see each other, it's like we never left each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're lifelong friends, and I'm happy to be. I like Van Dam too.
Yeah, I love that. Prism 280, he asks, and you may remember this or you may not. He says, out of all the chair shots, was when Mikey Whipwreck knocked out Mick, his shot to Mick that knocked him out. Was that the most violent one that you've seen? He still cringes
Mick
when he
Foley?
sees it. Yeah.
Well, I don't think I was involved in that, right?
I don't recall. I don't think so. Maybe it was just something you might have remembered, though.
I remember a little bit about it, but I had enough to take care of with Van Dam, Sabu, and Tazz.
You're right.
You know what I mean? So the other matches. But after a while, I was an assistant. I was helping Paul Heyman run these shows. But I just don't remember that particular one.
Yeah.
But and I'm going to say that was probably in the top 5 because there was so many unbelievable chair shots, like Balls Mahoney and those guys, and Van Dam doing the Van Daminator, that roundhouse kick. We call it the hot potato. I would throw Van Dam a chair. He would throw it to me. I would throw it to this opponent. He would do that spin kick, bam, and knock him out. He knocked Jerry Lynn out a couple of times.
Yeah.
Those chair shots are tough.
Yeah.
I took one. And then before I took one, I told Van Dam, I said, hey, just because I'm your boy, lay it in there. This is a stupid thing for me to say. And I did. And he laid it in there. And I fucking did a flip out. Man, it was crazy. It almost killed me. But, that was part of the ECW atmosphere that we were stepping up to the plate. I don't know what made us do these unbelievable stunts or whatever you want to call them, spots, whatever, chair shots, falling off of balconies, bleeding like a pig, all kind of crazy stunts, man. ladder matches and tables and all that. Just unbelievable, crazy stuff. So it's hard to pinpoint one particular chair shot. But
yeah.
Balls Mahoney was tough with those chairs, man. You could take them and give them.
Yeah, for sure. What was it like? So we've heard tons of stories about what it was like to work for Paul Heyman. And, there's good and bad that people hear. But one of the consistent things that you hear is Paul was an excellent motivator and did give these guys confidence. And I mean, I think history shows when you look at the amount of talent that came out of ECW that Paul Heyman had his fingertips on. It's
of course,
astounding.
I know exactly what you're saying. And there's not too many guys that can talk bad about Paul. The ones that do talk smack about Paul Heyman are the ones that got fired or fucked up or quit or, wanted more, whatever, had a run in and, left the company. The ones like me who worked for Paul Heyman, and, there was rumors about checks, but here, let me clear that up. So ECW, I'm going to just throw these odd numbers out. They're not 100% accurate. So we say we made $13 million in 1 year, bringing in revenue from pay-per-views and house shows and merchandise and all that. Say it's $13 million. But we were spending $14.2 million to run ECW for that year. So we were struggling. We had no corporate sponsors. We were borrowing money from Peter to pay Paul. And I really never I think I might have got a check that Paul Heyman said, hey, the money's in the bank, Cash Tuesday, maybe once or twice, but I was well paid. I never suffered any of that. But, hey, to fly 30 guys to Japan and run a joint show with Onita and bring all your ECW guys, managers, referees, wrestlers, that's an expensive thing with no corporate sponsors. It's kind of tough. You may get your plane ticket on Thursday and have to leave Friday, but, hey, we were a small company trying to make it. And we made a hell of an impression. Not me, but we as a company, and Paul Heyman and Todd Gordon made a hell of an impression in the wrestling industry.
Listen,
for that little company that barely could make it.
And listen, you can say we because you're a big part of that, Bill. You're part of the foundation of that, and you had your finger. You're the manager of champions for a reason. There's a lot of stars that you worked with that even exceeding.
Well, I get a lot of recognition for that, Michael. When I go to these shows and do the conventions and stuff, it's not because I was a great, famous referee who refereed in Tokyo in front of 65,000 people, Fujinami and Ric Flair, and been to WrestleMania and refereed Hulk Hogan and Yokozuna, and been to London and Berlin and all over the world, Madison Square Garden. Not because I was the greatest referee in the world, it's because of ECW. That put me, that gave me a new life in pro wrestling, and I'm very thankful for it. So I'm remembered a lot for being involved in ECW. I'm actually a legend in my own mind.
And I'm wrong with that. Listen, that's the first step to success. We got to believe in ourselves and believe that we're gonna be better than everybody else, right?
Thanks, Eddie.
So let's talk about what I would maybe say is one of your most famous, if not your most famous moment, and that would be your match with Beulah McGillicutty. Can you talk to us about how that came about?
Yeah, of course I can. Can you believe what you just asked me? And it's been since figure how long it's been, 1997, I think that match was. So 13, 20, so 30-something years, right, ago, and we're still talking about it. So that's pretty cool to be have something like that. Yeah, I can tell you how that match came about and how it happened and what happened and why and when. So, ECW was doing great, and WCW and WWF was plucking our talent. I mean, Sandman went to WCW, Tazz went to WWF, Mike Awesome went, this guy went, that guy went. Everybody was going, you know what I mean? And for some reason, the office thought I was negotiating for the next one to leave with me and Sabu. But actually, Sabu was negotiating with WCW. He was going to sign a big contract, but we already signed with Paul Heyman. He wouldn't let us go. But Paul Heyman thought I was going behind his back, or somebody thought I was going behind the back of the company and trying to steal Sabu and me to go to WCW. That wasn't the case at all. I never knew any of this. So, but anyway, people thought that's why I bled so much. People thought I was trying to save my job because I was going to get fired after the match. I don't think there was any truth to that at all.
I have heard that urban myth before.
Yeah, it's an urban myth, and it's a logical thing to think, you know, because of what was going on in that and all the companies, you know. But I'm not mad at anybody for that. You know, it's possible that could happen, but it didn't. I'm telling you, it didn't.
Yeah.
So, me and Beaulah had been, you know, she's a diva. She's managing Tommy Dreamer and all these different guys. She's a big star. And me and her had our little skits where, you know, we read the manager and the diva run into each other and do a little skit. And the people wanted to see me and her fight each other, actually. They just wanted it. You know, they wanted to be and the girl to do a hardcore match. So they designed one for us. And I said, yeah, that's fine. Okay, no problem. And we're two non-wrestlers. I mean, Beulah's a penthouse centerfold spread. She was a dope superstar, movie entertainer. She was a beautiful girl. She had a body. She was good looking, but she was a valet. She wasn't a wrestler. And I'm a manager and a referee. I've only wrestled Todd Gordon a few times. I might have wrestled Dory Funk a couple of times, you know, for 30 seconds or something.
Right.
I had, you know, but I've been around the business for 30-something years, so I know the wrestling business. So I said, hey, what we can't do is leapfrogs and arm drags and wrestling spots because we're not wrestlers. Let's just have a hardcore fight and fight each other. And, you know, so they come up with a format for us, and, you know, we filled in the blanks, and that's what came out of it. And at the beginning of the match, right at the beginning, where I push Beaulah and I go to hit her and I hit the damn cooking sheet she holds up and she smacks me right above the eye. Now, we could have did that 1,000 times, but the time when we did it, we couldn't have repeated it because it was just a perfect scenario where that cooking sheet caught me right above the eye and split my head so far open. It was so good, it severed an artery and nerves. And thank God I got that big juice because it made the match and people were still talking about it. But that happened like seconds, like maybe 10 seconds into the match. The match only lasted 7 minutes and 28 seconds or something like that.
Yeah.
7 minutes something. But I mean, we did some stuff. You see me slam her one time. It's not a normal slam where I go between her crotch and slam her. I just pick her up and slam her. We did a few moves. She did a baseball slide with a chair. You know, we were doing some pretty cool stuff. She was throwing me over the rail, not flying to the audience. I didn't know I could do that stuff, but it was pretty cool. And the blood, of course, made the match. And Beaulah said, "Oh my God, Fonzie, you're busted wide over here." Oh, that'd be a good intro for next week. The intro of having Joey Styles say, "And Fonzie, he can barely see." You know,
I love
my
that.
God, you know Joey Styles. So let's do that as an opener next week for our show. Maybe we'll do part 4. Who knows? But anyway, so we had a hell of a match, you know, and I got after the match with head trauma because my head was busted open really good. I mean, really good. I had to get rushed to the hospital because they took me backstage and they couldn't stop the bleeding. The same guy who sewed Sabu's arm up was back there, the doctor. You know, he's an emergency room doctor. He's a friend of Paul Heyman and Raven. And the paramedics were there. They could not stop the bleeding, so they ended up putting this steel cold plate on my head and taping my head up and rushing me to the hospital in an ambulance because head trauma is no bullshit.
Yeah.
So I get to the hospital. I got not a concussion at all, just cut really bad and I was bleeding profusely. And every time my heart would pump, the blood would shoot out. So I get to the hospital's packed. It's a Saturday night, you know, at 11 o'clock, at 11:30 at night.
Do you remember which hospital you went to?
It was one real close to the...
Was it Methodist Hospital?
ECW. I think it was. It was like maybe 10 minutes or less from the ECW.
My mother runs that emergency department. I don't think she did that
I
back
met
then,
her
but
if she was there in 78.
yeah.
So I get in there and they take me immediately because the head trauma is priority. If I would have had a slash on my elbow or something, I would have had to wait like everybody else. But when you got head trauma's priority number one. You get rushed right into the emergency room because you're afraid you're going to bleed out or, you're going to die from whatever. So they rush me in there and this nurse comes in and she says, what happened? I said, I got a big gash on my head. And I'm kind of woozy a little bit. So she starts undoing the tape. She's going to untape me. I said, well, ma'am, if I were you, I wouldn't do that because when you take it off, blood's going to start squirting out. And she says, son, I've been a nurse for 27 years. Don't tell me what to do. I said, okay. So she got this beautiful white outfit on. She's a nurse, She's untaping my head. The steel plate falls off my cut. And as soon as my heart pumped, it shot blood because the pressure's been building up because that plate's been over it.
Yeah.
It shot out like 3 feet all over her shirt, all over her face. She was pissed. And then she had to continue because it was serious head trauma. She pushed the button and 4 or 5 people come running in, different nurses and a bunch of doctors. And I was almost passing out. I remember they bring in those, the jumper cables that they kickstart your heart with or whatever you call them.
Defibrillator?
But yeah, defibrillator. They brought one of those in. I said, hey, what's that for? And they said, oh, just in case, Fonzie. They called me Fonzie at this time. Oh, just in case we need it, Fonzie. I said, well, I hope not. They were holding my legs up so my blood would rush back to my head and shit. So I ended up getting like 20-something stitches inside and out, a few staples. I couldn't feel. I was combing my hair. So I had a flight out the next day back to Tampa. This happened in Philadelphia, and I live in Tampa. So my flight was at 7:45 the next day. And the trauma guy who did the sutures and all that wanted to keep me in the hospital for overnight, so whatever, you know what I mean? Get my blood back, whatever. Keep me overnight. I said, are you kidding me? I said, I got a 7:45 flight. And they made me sign a waiver.
Right.
So,
against medical advice, right? Sign out AMA.
Against medical advice. So the doctor says, okay, you signed the waiver. Here's my suggestion. You go back to your hotel. I don't want you to have a drink. I don't want you to smoke a cigarette. I certainly don't want you to do any drugs. I want you to lay down and drink some orange juice. That's going to help you. And then I don't really want you to fly at all because something could happen. Something can go up through your brain and kill you like it did,
Candido, right?
Some of the guys. Chris Candido, a perfect example. So I said, okay, thanks, Doc. I won't do any of that. So the lady wheels me out. She can't walk out. I'm a patient at this time. So she's wheeling me out. There's Sandman at the emergency room waiting for him. He's got a 44-ounce cranberry and vodka cocktail. He's got a joint going. He gives me a Percocet. We go to the...
You there, Bill? Well, we lost Bill. Give me 1 second. I'll get him back on.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
That's okay.
It was crazy. So
you were saying we left off where you said that the Sandman had he said he had a cocktail, a joint, and
they're wheeling me out to the car. The doctor just told me no alcohol, no drugs, no cigarettes, no pot. Go back to the hotel, lay down. So Sandman's got a 44-ounce vodka and cranberry. He's got a joint going. He shoves a Percocet in my mouth. Says, "Come on, Fonzie." You know how he talks. "Come on, Fonzie. Let's go to the bar. They're waiting for you." So I walk into the bar. Everybody's buying me drinks, and everybody's patting me in the back, and I'm feeling woozy. But crazy night, brother. That was a crazy night. Poor thing, Beaulah felt so bad because she didn't know what was going on because I left the hospital, and when I got home, she called me almost every day. She sent me flowers. Poor thing, I felt terrible for her because she thought, she hurt me, which she did, but it wasn't her fault. It's, one of those things. But she was nice enough to call me all the time until I got better and sent me flowers, and she was a sweetheart about that.
Do you remember how much blood you lost? Did they tell you?
They said I lost 33% of my blood. You know what I mean?
That's a lot.
Because they're guesstimating the time of the laceration at 9:15, and I bled for approximately 8 minutes in the ring, and then I bled another 7 or 8 minutes in the dressing room trying to get me taped up and stop the bleeding, and another 2 minutes in the emergency room before they got it under control and could put the 2 arteries back together. You had to have some type of special surgeon to do that, because it was inside my skull where the artery was cut, right above my eyebrow somehow.
Yeah, that was crazy. Did you panic at all, Bill, during the match? Like, I mean, you look like you just kind of went through the motions, but was there any panic at all?
No, I didn't realize how bad it was. I look back at it and say I'm lucky that I survived that, or I could have had a stroke, something could have happened, or whatever. But I was pretty cool with it.
Wow, you're a tough guy, Bill.
Well, I'm watching all these guys every night for 5 years beating each other up, and Sabu getting 100 stitches in his arm, and the guys getting juice all the time, and Balls Mahoney bleeding every night, and Axel Wright and all these guys. I'd be a pussy if I complained about anything. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
A little, so I had to man up and do what I had to do.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
You're amongst a lot of warriors in that locker room for sure.
Well, thank God they're still talking about it, because it's pretty cool. When I go to some of these conventions and stuff, I'll have a TV set at my booth with that match B-roll where it continually plays, and people will always comment, "Oh man, that match! I love that match." That's the most comment I get is about, "Hey, tell me about the Beulah Fonzie match. We love that. Good, thanks for being there." Then of course they mention Sabu, Van Dam, and Tazz, and all that. Of course they do.
Yeah.
But they do love that Fonzie Beaulah thing. And it's been on maybe 6 or 7 different DVDs that's WWE's produced.
Yeah.
Paul Heyman, if you ask Paul Heyman, say, "Hey, Paul Heyman, name a couple of your favorite matches ever in the history of ECW." Now, that's hard to do, because he could say Van Dam and Jerry Lynn, Bam Bam and Tazz, Sandman and this guy and that guy. Usually he'll say Beaulah and Fonzie. That's one of his favorite matches. He'll say that if you ask him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's one of the most famous matches. I think they've said it was the bloodiest match in the history of ECW.
It's documented by, ECW. Nothing goes by Vince without him approving it. So for them to say it was 5 of the most intense minutes, not just ECW for wrestling, but in wrestling is period. But they say that, not me.
Right.
But it's on the DVD, so who am I to argue with that,
Absolutely. I have another question here from Prism, who asks, he says, "Did you know that RVD and Jerry Lynn at Living Dangerous 99 was a masterpiece as it was going on, or was it after the match was over? And what was the reaction in the back?" He said, any matches he knew instantly.
Usually, if somebody has a spectacular match like that, when they walk through the dressing room curtain, everybody gives them a standing ovation. You know what I mean? All the wrestlers, is like a peer thing. You do have a good broadcast tonight. Your producer's going to say, "Hey, Michael, that was a good damn broadcast," and pat you on the back.
Yep.
If we have a shitty one tonight, she'll say, "Oh, that wasn't so good tonight." But so anyway, we came to the curtain, and of course they got a standing ovation. But it didn't surprise me, and I knew it was good. But they had wrestled like 7 or 8 times, in different cities and different matches and different. So they had their shit out. They were 2 talented guys. I mean, they were. Van Dam was one of the most talented guys I've seen in the ring, and Jerry Lynn was fantastic. They had some unbelievable matches. So no, I didn't know it was such a 5-star match because all their matches were 5 stars. Usually, Michael, this may not sound true to you, but usually every match on the card, from first match till the end, was a 5-star match in some capacity, because we had the lights off, lights on Terry Funk, lights off, lights on Dusty Rhodes, lights off, lights on Dr. Desi Williams. We had some phenomenal people come through there. Brian Pillman, Rick Fruit. I mean, just phenomenal. Jake, everybody wanted to come and make an appearance in ECW. And that made our company prestigious. It was cool. We had guys begging us to come in. You know, and I was so fortunate, Michael, to stay there 5 years. You kidding me?
Yeah.
I'm the most fortunate one. But that question about that night for your guy who asked the question, didn't know it was a 5-star match. I thought all the matches were 5 stars. So it was just another great night to be a manager in ECW and be in the wrestling business for me.
We got about 5 or 6 minutes left. So what I'd like to do, I
Okay.
got 2 questions here from our viewers that I'd like to address, and then next week we're going to continue this because I do want to talk about the resurrection in 2005 with One Night Stand.
Keep on with the questions, Andy.
Yeah.
If listeners got any questions, I'll be more than happy. Where's my favorite Philly cheesesteak? Yeah, Jim's on South Street.
Oh, we're going to talk about the Philly crowd in the Philly area.
Yes, I've been to that mall.
We're definitely going to talk about that next week for sure.
Right.
So these 2 questions here. I'm going to start with Jake Friel, who asks, if we haven't talked about it already, which we haven't, what was your favorite memory while managing Tazz, and do you guys still talk today?
Yeah, when I see Tazz, it's like, we're like a family almost, or like lifelong friends. When you don't see each other, and Tazz and I had a great relationship. Never a bad word about Tazz to him or me. We got along splendidly, and we always say we complimented each other. We were instrumental in getting ourselves over. Both of us helped. Like I helped him and he helped me. It was a right place at the right time. We got lucky to spend a year together. Tazz is a great guy. I love Tazz, and a hell of a talent, and a super guy. And he doesn't drink and drug and all that. So we didn't hang out after the matches because I was partying with the Sandman, drinking. I have a good story about the Sandman next week about where he almost died. Remind me when I tell Raven, his lips are turning blue, Daddy. Remind me about that story, and I'll tell it next week. A great story, and Sandman doesn't mind me telling it. And it's true. Every single word of it is going to be true. So I don't talk to Tazz all the time, but when I do see him, at an event, at one of the conventions or wherever, we give each other a high five, hug, and all that bullshit. Like we never left each other. We like each other a lot still. The one I do talk to all the time, I talk to Van Dam a lot. I talk to Sabu a lot. I talk to Heyman, not as much. I talk to Todd every week, Todd Gordon. I talk to Sandman all the time. I see him on the road at these different. When they bring in when they do a convention or something, they like to have an ECW package, and they put us all in the same area. Yeah, like Sandman, 4 or 5 big stars, Sabu, Fonzie, Francine, Shane Douglas. They always put us all in the same. So I see these guys pretty much because not everybody's wrestling all the time no more. It's just hard on their bodies. You know what I mean? Yeah. So the conventions are pretty cool, and it's lucrative. It's okay, and it's fun, and the people, it's excited. The people are excited to see it. So they have that ECW package, which is good. So, hey, Michael, if you brought me in to do a show, if you ran a show, and you brought Bill Alfonso in to manage somebody, I'm not going to have that big drawing power. But if you bring me in as a package deal with the ECW crew, then that makes sense. You know what I mean? Because I don't have that drawing power like Sting does. If you say Sting's going to be there, 5,000 people are going to come see him. Right. If Fonzie's going to be there, 100 people might come. If you say ECW package, Sandman, Sabu, Van Dam, Fonzie, Beaulah, Francine, Tommy Dreamer going to be there, we're fucking packed the place. So I'm good part of a package deal. I'm not a big draw by myself, but I am an excellent puzzle, a piece of that great puzzle. It's called ECW.
Yes, absolutely. Last question for you for part 2, Bill, and it's from Bubba Harris.
Hey, don't wrap me up, Daddy. I can talk all night long. Last question, Daddy. Fuck, let's keep going, man. We're hot, brother. Let's talk about ECW.
Listen, if you want to roll, we'll roll.
For next week.
We can roll a little bit.
Keep going, Daddy.
So Bubba Harris, he says, okay, so the Beaulah match was over the top, but what was the most memorable match to date? He says, this is Bubba saying hello to my best bud, Bill Alfonso.
That's Bubba from Clearwater?
It might be.
Well, I got a dear friend. I'm doing a seminar tomorrow live. It's on some type of Facebook. There's this cat. You know that big convention that they do in North Carolina, in Winston-Salem every year? It's called WrestleK or whatever.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I know.
But he's involved in that.
Okay.
There's two guys that put it on, and then he's one of the producers of that show. But he called me a couple of weeks ago and wanted me to ask me if I would do a seminar for 25 people, whatever, live on Facebook video or whatever the hell I'm going to do tomorrow.
It is Bubba, by the way.
Friend, yeah, I am going to do it at my boy Bubba's house, and his wife, Chrissy, she's badass. She's an MMA fighter. She's badass, too, Daddy. She's going to be all dressed up. MMA fighter. She's going to be my bodyguard during the seminar. And I'm going live tomorrow, which is pretty cool. Hey, awesome. That's flattering. Michael, you don't think it's flattering for you to call my beautiful niece, who's my social media director, and she does a hell of a job. She's great.
She's amazing to work with.
Ever heard her call me and say, "Hey, Uncle Fonzie, Michael wants you to come on the show again." Oh, great, thank you. And you don't think that's flattering for me? That's very flattering. Thank you. You don't think it's flattering for me to get recognized when I'm in the airport once in a while? If you're not a big wrestling fan, you don't know who the fuck Bill Alfonso is. You don't know who the fuck that whistleblower is. You know what I mean? But if you're a big wrestling fan, and you see me somewhere, that's pretty flattering when they come up. I was in, let's see, it happens frequently, but not, I'm not Sting. I don't have the blonde hair, so I blend in with everybody. You know what I mean? I'm not a big guy. I'll jot this down so we can talk about this next week. My favorite city, let's talk about that. Jot that down so we have for next week.
Yep.
My favorite city and how to dress for success.
Love it.
Put that down too. We'll talk about that next week.
Absolutely.
So it's very flattering for me to be recognized, to this day. Hey, I'm be 63 in August. Me and Hulk Hogan have the same birthday, August 11th. So if anybody wants to send me a birthday present, August 11th, Daddy, send it to Michael, send it to Lazy Boy. But I'm not into the pot no more and all the drugs because I've been clean. I'm in Vince McMahon's WWE wellness program. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, wow. How was that for you?
Damn good. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I look better than I did 20 years ago. If you see me now, you say, Fonzie, how can you go back in time and look better than you did in 1997? It's impossible. Well, the drugs and alcohol, that's the trick, Daddy.
Yeah.
And it works. Believe me, I look beautiful. I get girls hitting on me all the time, especially all the big fat blonde girls. They love me, brother. For some reason, I attract blonde, heavy set, big bone women, which, somebody's got to love them too, but boy, they sure do love me.
Well, who wouldn't love you, Bill? You're a good guy, man, and you're fun. And you're right. You look fantastic. And you've done a lot of really good things over the years, brother, and you're taking care of yourself. I think I said that to you last week. I need to find out what your secret is. You've aged backwards. You're like Benjamin Button over here.
The secret is having Vince McMahon putting in his wellness program and it working.
That's awesome.
And going through that. And 7 years later, alcohol and drug free. Well, 99.9%. I have smoked a joint in the last 7 years, but not a lot, brother. I'm telling you.
I'm proud of you, man. That's awesome to hear. And I know that we love to hear that because we love the Fonzie. We love having him on.
Thank you, Michael. That's very kind of you to say that. Thanks for having me on your show again.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Oh, we're going to be on the same time next Thursday?
Same time.
7 o'clock live?
Same time next Thursday. Sean Spellman says ECW, the last era of a generation that had a set of balls.
Oh, great, man. We'll talk it up. And don't forget to ask me about my favorite city,
yes,
about Dress for Success, and whatever else I told you. There's a bunch of stuff. We haven't even covered Roddy Piper shooting an alligator, or Barry going up getting shot, or the airplane crash with superstar Billy Graham. We got a lot to talk about, Daddy.
Oh, yeah.
Next, interesting. If you're Michael, if you're not a wrestling fan, and I tell these stories, they don't mean nothing.
Yeah.
I can't go say my daughter's 38, she's a millennial. I can't go to one of her parties at her house. She had a beautiful home. I can't go to my daughter's house and all her friends are there that know nothing about wrestling or me, or, they might have heard of Hulk Hogan or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't tell them these kind of stories. I got to talk about other things, millennial things. So, but if you're a wrestling fan, these stories are interesting. That's why we get good feedback. That's why you get a few questions. And that's why ECW is successful, because all wrestling people and guys, thanks to guys like you, Michael, who love wrestling as much as I do, for bringing it out and broadcast. and put it on the platform. That's pretty cool of you guys to do that, you know?
Yeah.
And obviously you enjoy it, you know, or you won't be doing it.
That's right. You know, and I love to get to talk to people like yourself.
We're wrestling fans. Me and you are wrestling fans, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And it's always a pleasure to talk to somebody like yourself who has such an insight into it, Bill. It really is.
That's very nice of you to say that. And it's fun for me. It's fun. And Michael, all I got to do is tell the truth and tell you about a story. Like when the plane crashed.
Oh, I think we're losing Bill again.
Nobody but wrestling people.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
When I tell you, Barry, when people, so it's cool.
I think I'm losing you here at the end here, Bill. Let me call you right back, Bill, if you can hear me. All right. Let's try it again. It might be me.
I'm sorry, Michael. Did I cut out again?
That's okay. Yeah, we were losing you at the end there.
Okay.
But yeah,
it's about time to wrap it up almost.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap up. Last couple comments here. I'm just gonna read them to you. Some people saying some stuff to you here. Bubba says, "I'll say this: Bill is really still kicking ass and taking names." Prism 280 says this needs to be a permanent part of the weekly lineup. Greatness all around. I know myself and Bill Prism. We appreciate that, brother. Sean says, "Pure gold, chrome, awesome job." Listen, Bill. Next week we're gonna tie up ECW. We're going to do the odds and ends, which is going to be a lot of those stories that you refer to, the plane crash, the alligator story.
Put a High Times magazine, jot that out too. That's a good story.
Yeah.
High Times magazine.
We got a lot of really awesome stuff to talk about next week, Bill. And I want to thank you again for taking the time to join me this week. And I look forward to part 3 next week with the legend, the manager of champions, Bill Alfonso. Bill, thank you so much for tonight, and we look forward to talking to you next week.
Brother, it was my pleasure. Thank you. It's flattering to be on your show, and I really appreciate it. Special hello to my boy Bubba and his beautiful wife Chrissy. Thanks, man. Thanks, Michael. I will see you. I will talk to you next week, man. Buzz me during the week, and don't forget when you come to Orlando, or soon when we get on floor next week, we're going to go out and have a 5-star dinner.
You got it. Yep. Next month, I told you I'll be down there for about 8 or 9 days.
We'll get Bubba to take us out. He's rich and famous, Daddy.
Hey, let's go, Bubba.
Pick up the tab. But you got to order like you're buying, and he'll pay.
You got it. That's it. You set a trend for me now. I'm going to hold everybody to that.
Beautiful.
Thanks again, Bill.
Right, Daddy.
Have a great week. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
You too. Thanks, Michael.
My pleasure.
Thank you, producer. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Take care. You guys heard it. The legendary Bill Alfonso, manager of champions, in our part 2 of our interview series with Bill. A lot of fun stuff tonight. I can't thank everybody enough. We had a lot of great comments in here. Bubba, nice to meet you, sir. Maybe I'll catch you next month. He says the Gator story. Hell yes, we're going to hear that. Next week, we're going to do odds and ends. So we're going to talk about, I know Andy dropped a comment in about ECW's resurrection in 2005 when they did One Night Stand, and we definitely want to make sure that we do that. Thank you so much, Loyalty JTTV, who says that was one of the best interviews I've seen. I appreciate it. Bill, appreciate it. It's very easy to talk to Bill. And if you missed last week's, go back and check it out, part 1, where we talked about Bill kicking things off in the Texas territory, going to WCW, and then going into the WWE. Bubba, I can't wait, brother. I'm looking forward to it, man. We got to get this stuff to clear up into Florida so I can come down. I should be there for next month for about 9 or 10 days in Orlando, and I'm going to meet up with Bill in Tampa at some point. But yeah, next week we're going to do ECW's One Night Stand in 2005. We're going to tie up some loose ends. There's another Sandman story we're going to go through. We're going to talk the alligator story, which sounds like it's absolutely epic. We're going to talk Barry Windham. He's got a story with Barry Windham, and many, many other things. And guys, again, send in your comments to A2D. You can comment, during the week, usually day of. If you're not able to join us live, during the week, usually the day before, the day of, we drop a promotional post, so that it's just kind of a reminder, hey, we're going to have this wonderful interview, on with our guests. So if you can't join us live, to send in your comments or questions, or you can even drop them in on that and then turn out, and you can also drop the comment into, the comment section on our videos, as we're watching live. We will do our best to try to make sure that we implement your questions, whether it's live on the show or people have sent me questions. I mean, I got tons of questions asking to make sure that we covered Bill's match with Beaulah. Lots of questions about what it was like to work with Sabu and Tazz and RVD. So we made sure that we made that a focal point, what it was like to work for Paul Heyman. And we gave you all that this week, and we were happy to do that. So again, I want to make sure to remind you guys, next week, same time, next week, Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on A2DRadio.com. We will have part 3 of the Bill Alfonso interview series here on Lazy Booking, and it's going to be a lot. And Joey DiBardino says, is this a Blue World Order shirt? Yes, it is, sir. Yes, it is. I had to bring out an ECW. That's the only ECW shirt that I have. I have an arena shirt, for the ECW arena shirt, which I'll wear that next week. But this is the only ECW shirt, and I had to make sure I wore an ECW shirt at least for one of these interview series with Bill. But yeah, and if you're new to the show, I'm seeing a lot of names that I personally haven't seen before, and I appreciate you guys checking us out and chiming in. You can check us out the same time every week, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on A2DRadio.com. We have another wrestling program on our station here that you can catch on Saturdays or Sundays, depending on the week. Usually Saturday night, and that's In This Very Ring. That's with Ritz, Andy Ritter, and Butters, and they cover a lot more of the current stuff. We try to do more of the interview stuff, and we'll talk current stuff, and we'll do previews of pay-per-views. But a lot of what we do is, we're trying to kind of go back and reflect on the history of professional wrestling and try to bring you great guests. We've had, we've had so many wonderful guests on this show. Bill has been amazing. We had Ken Shamrock on a few weeks ago. We had Matt Tremont was on here. We had Leo Rush on the show. We've had Psycho Sid Vicious, Tito Santana, Nikita Koloff. Lots of really great interviews here on Lazy Booking and on A2D Radio. If you're a sports fan, yesterday we had Todd Herremans and Riley Cote, former Philadelphia Flyers and Philadelphia Eagles players. We've had Vince Papali, we've had Adam Carricker. The list goes on. Vaughn Abron, and it's been really a lot of fun here. The A2D interview series has been wonderful. Chris Pronger, Hall of Famer, we had him on. So there's a lot of really great stuff on A2D Radio outside of even just the wrestling stuff. Wonderful sports content. And guys, by the way, it's not just the interviews. You get a lot of great personalities on this station who have a lot to say. And honestly, it's a place for you guys to have a voice. So again, if this is your first time joining us, I hope that you continue to join us here on A2D. Follow us on all of our social media platforms. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We have all of our podcast platforms that you can follow us on. You can follow us on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, Spreaker, SoundCloud. We're all over the place. There's a lot of fun stuff. Podcast platform. You can go back and watch these videos. Everything is archived. So you can go back, on YouTube, you can go back, and if you have a favorite show on A2D Radio, I'm mentioning these interviews that we've had on Lazy Booking. If you missed any of those, you can go back and you can check out the A2D, subscribe to the A2D channel, and then you can go and view the channel, and you can go through each individual show basically from its inception, and you can find any show that we've ever had on the history of this channel. So it's a lot of fun. It's awesome to check out, and won a lot of really fun personalities. And you know what? You may not like us all. You may love to hate some of us, but a lot of people tend to come back and enjoy us, and that's what keeps us doing what we're doing. So I appreciate you guys. It's been wonderful having Bill, and again, next week, part 3 with Bill it's our odds and ends week. We're going to cover a lot of kind of random stories that Bill has, as well as we're going to tie up ECW. If you missed part 1, go back, check it out. We talked about his Texas territory introduction, WCW and WWE. There's a Vince McMahon story in there. There's, a Hulk Hogan story, which was really great, talking about Thunder in Paradise. So lots of fun stuff. We talked about, El Gigante, also known as Giant Gonzalez, and how he worked with him, similar to the Tim White fashion. That Tim White was, kind of the everyday 24/7 assistant to Andre the Giant. Well, Bill did the same thing with El Gigante, Giant Gonzalez. So you can go back and you can check that out. But that's really all I have for you guys. This was a great conversation talking about ECW, and we had a lot of fun. And I'm really excited to have Bill back on next week. So I want to say thank you to Bill again for joining us. I want to say thank you to Ryan for producing another fantastic show. Ryan managing your comments, taking care of our little ticker line that we have down here, and a lot of other things. So for myself, and for our sponsors, by the way, whoops, I'm an idiot. Let's make sure that we say a shout out to them. Our doctor, Dr. Paul Vidal in Cherry Hill, Burlington, Princeton, New Jersey, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. No appointment necessary. They're the best in the business. Make them yours. Specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Ambuck Services, gutter guards, gutter cleaning, tree trimming. Yes, we do, Ryan. We love our sponsors. Tree trimming, deck installation, restoration, any kind of outside work you need. Hit up Michael Ambrose. Let him know A2D sent you. You get 20% off. Play QB54. And we didn't get to the poll question. It's the second week in a row, by the way. I didn't even ask him the poll question because I was going to ask him at the very end. So I guess we'll tie that same poll question over for the third week in a row, which will be the legacy of ECW. But shout out to QB54, playqb54.com. Best tailgating game out there. Use the promo code A2D, get you 20% off. Do I have the right promo code, Ryan, or is that one no notes? Ryan will drop it in there. And also Philly Drinkers. We have a lot of merchandise on there. If you love lazy booking, hey, guess what, guys? I love your support. A2D loves your support. You can go and get a lazy booking shirt. You're an A2D fanatic. I know a lot of you guys. I see a lot of familiar names in there who love to who come in and you're pretty much in almost any of our shows, whether it's wrestling, whether it's football, baseball, hockey, whatever it is. Hockey happy hours coming out later. You check those things out. And by the way, you can get a shirt and support us. We love your support. So yeah, check them out, phillydrinkers.com. We got our QB50, our Philadelphia Quarterback Factory special edition shirt that's out there, which, by the way, use a promo code A2D. That'll get you 25% off that shirt, not your full order, but that shirt. And obviously Body Check that shirt. That's amazing. I got mine. I wore it actually last night on the interview. And again, Body Check Wellness, guys. We talked a lot last night with Riley Cote, former Philadelphia Flyer, and Todd Herremans. We spoke a lot about cannabis and, not recreational use, but the medical use for it. And if you check Body Check Wellness, there's a lot of you use the promo code A2D, it'll get you 20% off. If you're a person, they have a lot of different cannabis products on there that, medical use that, I think can help you. And honestly, guys, it was a very, very honest conversation that we had with those two guys last night. A lot of things, I'm not a big cannabis user, and I told those guys last night, but what was great about it is the education that you get from it. If you are a person who has a lot of different medical issues, and then, I'm not a person who's, one of those old school beat the drum against the type of people. I found it fascinating, and it opened up my eyes to maybe not my own personal situations, but people that I know who suffer from, psoriasis and chronic joint pain and different things, depression, anxiety, and different things, to where this could be an avenue for you to explore. So check out that interview that we had last night, and check them out again. Body Wellness. Use that promo code. Prism says, do you have a favorite ECW match that stands out from the others? Is that a question for me? Ooh, that's a tough question, Prism. There's a lot of really great matches. You can look back and you can see, Axel Rotten and his brother, with the Chinese type, or I think it was a Chinese Taipei match where they had the glass stuck to their gloves. There's matches that I remember. I don't know that I call them favorites. You know, I can go back and, you know, the barbed wire match that Bill was talking about between Terry Funk and Sabu is one that really stands out to me. It's a tough question, brother. I don't know that I have a specific favorite. You know, I have my favorite people. You know, I was a big Sandman guy and a big Tazz guy. Those were probably my favorites. But it's tough for me to pinpoint a specific match. But this was fun, guys. I'm gonna give you back your night. I appreciate you guys joining me. And again, tune in next week, a2dradio.com for Lazy Booking with Bill Alfonso Part 3. And stay tuned tonight at the 10 o'clock hour, the Hockey Happy Hour, guys. Maddie Sinsudi is my normal co-host, who will be back once we get through this interview series between myself and Bill. He's with Brian Daly, Robert Povia. They're going to be talking hockey with you guys. And hopefully we're going to be able to kick it off soon and get our sports back. But for myself, for my wonderful producer here, Ryan Brodo, on the ones and twos, and for Bill Alfonso, the manager of champions, thank you, Prism. We appreciate you, brother. And for all you guys who participated, thanks again. Have a wonderful week. Stay safe, stay smart, and I'll talk to you soon.